Right, we're next on to the Dyson vacuum. Now, I've done this dozens of times over the life of this vacuum, and the last one, 19-T2 Animal, and as you can see, it's got an awful lot of hair there, and yeah, the blades are rotating really slowly, and from prior experiences, what happens is all the hair and fluff and stuff gets jammed in the neck mechanism inside here. So in order to get inside this, the easy way is there are two Torx screws here. So yeah, we need the toolbox that we fixed previously, so let's get one of those out. We just try and size up the bit here. That might be a bit too big. Yeah, that's too big. Let's try that one. Yeah, that one's going to be okay. So yeah, Torx. I'm not sure what size it is, like T8 or T10 or something, I don't know. Get the screws out. This is the easiest way to do it. You could try and cut all that hair from the underside, but you'll see why this is the easiest approach. Let's get these three out here, and then the one on the right hand side, just the same as the first one we took out, but on the opposite side. It never ceases to amaze me how much hair managed to get in here. And after those 5 screws have been removed, you can lift it at the back here, look, and it sort of just hinges off and comes off that piece. And if we just rotate this around sideways, you can see now that this piece just lifts off here in entirety. So it's really easy, well, it's easier to chop all that stuff off there. Now, surprisingly, the thing that usually happens hasn't happened here. There's usually loads of hair and fluff blocking that hole there. So on this occasion, that seems okay. Obviously, I'd clean this now, dust it down and stuff, get all the bits of fluff and stuff off that. But of course, we can focus on this now. I'm going to do this in a bag. I always just get a bin liner or something, stick it in there, and then I can just simply start to cut these off. So I'm just going to use a sharp knife. Often I'll use a kitchen knife, but I've got this to hand here. So yeah, it's a case of cutting through it and pulling it off. Being careful not to cut yourself. Now, you may be able to get replacement bristles, actually. So if these little brushes, you know, are worn, you know, they do get worn. You can see that one's a bit bent over at an angle there. You could possibly replace them. It's amazing how dirty this has got, because it's just loads of dust as well. But you see, most of the dust and fluff and stuff is from the cats. It'd be the same thing if you got dogs. And I think this long hair is my wife's hair, actually. Yeah, so you can see, like, that side is pretty much clean now. Let's do that side. That was a ribbon from one of the cat's toys that seemed to get sucked up there. That would have helped. Yeah, be careful if you're cutting towards yourself. Always cut away from yourself with a knife. I have actually cut myself a few times doing this in the past. Usually I use a steak knife or something to cut these, and then I slip and stick it in my hand or something. So yeah, be careful with knives. You can see now why I do it in that bag. It just makes less cleaning up work afterwards. Months later, if it's anything like mine, you may have to, you know, take the Torx things out the top here to get this whole thing out. Inspect down here again. It's not blocked there. I'm like, well, why is it not going round? And then I noticed that this was welded onto the edge there like that. It's like hair and stuff that's just welded on. And there was a plastic, you know, melted plastic with hair like that, and I had to use a knife, cut it off. So nothing is supposed to protrude from that. Yeah, the rollers are just sort of held centrally like that, so they sit away from the sides, but hair gets, you know, caught around here and then wedges in between there and then welds itself onto the plastic as it rotates. And of course, wash some of these things in the sink if you can. Can you see I've cleaned out that channel there? But look at that one, it's covered in dust and fluff. So yeah, I'm just using a brush here. I'll report back, but I can get all that out. Yeah, that's looking a bit cleaner now. All under here, you get dirt actually welded onto this, so I've given that a clean, given these rollers a clean, cleaned this here. Again, the brush to get in there with some soapy water. So yeah, it's a bit dusty, there's still bits of dust on it, and there's bits of dust on the inside, but all of the fluff and stuff is gone, so I can start to reassemble. Probably I need to just get rid of these bits of dust and fluff out of here first. And there you go, 20 minutes of cleaning, and it's not too bad. I cleaned these rollers as well, and it looks alright from the top. There might be a little bit of dust that's just stuck onto this, but Yeah, and there's a bit of dust in there I couldn't get out, but that should work perfectly. Yeah, and that wasn't rotating before. Watch it now. One thing you've got to pay attention to on these is that you don't get hairs and fibres going right up in there. Once or twice having to take this apart, you know, it's very hard to get into. There are a few screws to remove, but then you've got to prise this cap off, I think. The screws maybe are under there, and there's the odd screw in the side of the plastic here. Both positions there, and then you can get into the mechanism here, and I found loads and loads and loads of hair inside that once or twice in the past. It's had a lot of use, this vacuum, and I've always wondered when the brushes would fail. All I've done here is just take this off. We'll take the filter out in a minute. I've took the filter out here. I've removed one screw there. You need a Torx bit to do that. I don't know what size it is, I just go through my bits and find one that fits. Before just assuming your motor is the fault, check your fuse. Put it on diode test, beep test, you know, you'll get little sound indication like that on all multimeters, and when you put the probes together, when you've got continuity, it beeps. And on the fuse here, if you switch it on, that's on now, and we measure across that, hang on, it's on, that's off. There you go, when it's on, you should get pretty much a short there, but I'll show you on the meter, hopefully you can see that. It's not a dead short, it's like 10 ohms or something. It's showing 0.4, put it on ohms to measure resistance here. And you can see, yeah, 6.5 ohms, but as you wobble around, sometimes it shows 10. Depends on whether you get a firm connection on the thing there. But that shows me that the motor is now in circuit, because at this point in the video here, I've actually replaced the motor, and then normally, yeah, you won't get any kind of conductivity across your live and neutral there. And you know, this the other way, obviously, is just to use a tool like this. You get your fuse out, yeah, they just lift out like that. The fuse comes out. If I can get the flipping thing out, there you go. Fuse, 13 amps, probably right for that because it uses quite a bit of current, and you can just measure across the fuse as well. That's another thing of, you know, the way of achieving the same thing. Put it back in, push it down. Anyway, so the next thing, I think we need to prise these off. They just pop off, I think. Yeah, it did take me a good 20 seconds or so with a screwdriver there, just putting it in and levering, and it just pops off. Plastic is no worse for wear there, so that should go back on. Now both wheels are off, I can undo the screws here. I think there's 2 on each side of the shoulder here. That one, that one, that one, and that one. There's another covert screw down there, and I don't think my bit is, oh, it is going to go in. And I hear what you're saying, just go and buy a new vacuum cleaner. For £279-ish, yeah, I can buy a motor and 2 new filters, a kit, for about 30 or 40 quid. So yeah, why not try and give this another lease of life? And after having removed that screw, this just literally just carefully pulls back. Obviously, goes without saying, make sure this is not plugged in while you are working on it. So we've got, I don't know what we've got. Well, we've got a motor in this, haven't we, I think. So, and it stinks, that's the thing. I switched this on and it was working for a few rotations, and then it suddenly sounded like something had clunked up inside here. And I'm thinking, brushes, maybe the brushes are faulty. Maybe I could just service the motor, I don't know. Yeah, so the question now is, how does this come out? Oh, and it comes out like that, look. So let's just move this out of the way here and just try and pull this back. So we got a fuse here, look. Got this on-off switch there. I may have to get the tripod to do this. Yeah, the wires for this reel come right around here. I'm just wondering if there's any way to disconnect them here. And there isn't. What we can do though, I think, is pull the wire out of this little grip like that. There we go. It just gives us a little bit of flexibility. But we're still stuck down here, look. But we're still stuck here with this wire that comes to this. Let's see if I can pull the switch out with it, maybe. Is the whole thing going to come out? There we go. God, that was easy. These are pretty serviceable, actually. Well, I say that. I think we may have to strip this down, and the motor is the part that's replaceable, I think, within this. So I'll report back in a minute. Right, it's very messy work. There's silver in here, you don't want to breathe this in. It's carbon, I think, perhaps from the brushes and mechanical parts. But where's it gone now? Just inspecting around this, can you see there, I think, is that a wire? Yeah, so we got a wire, you know, a coil I think is broken, is that what that is? Or is it a hair? That's a hair actually. I don't know. In any case, yeah, I don't know. In any case, I'm not going to strip this motor down and service it. I'm just going to replace it. I think it's the safest option. Right, so I've used the old DC08 there to clean this. I got rid of all of the black carbon and stuff from in there, and from in there it still looks a bit blacky in there. But anyway, I figured I'm going to order one of these. I can now compare this to photos on eBay. But yeah, I think these are the brushes here, and there's a screw there that just holds that. So I'll carefully try and undo those screws. Let's see if we can pull this brush out and have a look what state it's in. It may be that one of these is just disintegrated. If I can get the bits out of it and it's not damaged the actual internal part of the motor, and it may be okay because it wasn't rotating very fast, but there was a clunking noise. And when you get that clunking noise, anything that dissolves and disintegrates in there gets battered around on the inside and damages it beyond repair. Yeah, so that's the first one out. It is a bit end of life, isn't it? It's pretty disintegrated. But anyway, is that actually the problem or not? So anyway, let's get this one out. So that's that screw of that one out. Let's just try it. You just wiggle a little bit, pull it out. Yeah, that one looks the same. So it wasn't, yeah, so it wasn't that. Because, oh, was it? There's a piece of plastic around that. That's a funny shape. I know they're both like that. I was just looking at a cutout, wondered if a piece was broken off and had gone inside, but I don't think it's the brushes. Right, I am not going to give this motor any time at all. I tried to clean up the, I think they call it the commutator in there. You know, the middle part, it's just awful, it's warm, it's horrible, and that ultimately might be the issue. Yeah, I don't think it's about the brushes. These brushes will be end of life because, you know what, they should spring out a lot further than that on new brushes, and then, you know, there's a spring on the inside and they get pressed in, and each one of these goes on a different phase of the motor here, you know, and the mate with those, I don't know if you can see it in the light, that's terrible, those little strips on the motor, the sensor part. Yeah, and obviously, you know, each one of them make a connection to a different point, and those points connect to the coils inside that energize it, start to rotate, and as it rotates, obviously those brushes are now pressing on different commutators. You know, that's, you've got like you know, a series of those copper things inside like that, all the way around the inside of the spindle. It goes around, it connects to a different coil, a different coil, a different coil, as it rotates around. That's how these work. But nevertheless, it's so black in there, you can see, you know, there's loads of that carbonised stuff, it goes everywhere, and ultimately it shorts, ultimately it gets onto the coils heat up, the coils melt, the brushes and commutator both get warm. So yeah, new motor, £29.50 from eBay. So it's quite easy, you know, there's like, I don't know, several screws to get to this point here. It looks daunting, but it's not if you followed the steps earlier. And yeah, we'll clean this stuff here, you know, with some soapy water and a towel. Make sure everything's dry before you reassemble it. It's got to be bone dry. Obviously you've got electricity in here. There's a chance the fuse there, where's it gone, might have blown. I don't think so though. And it is just a case of just clipping these on. I didn't see which way around they went. I don't think it matters actually. That one's red. Yeah, there we go. You can't see it, it's so black, it's red. Red and black. And then here, red and black. And the new motor, I've looked at it, it's identical to this. The only difference is this metal edge here, it goes down a bit. It's like a dome. So I think what I'd probably need to do when the new motor arrives is undo that nut there, and the motor should come off this rotation part here. You know, this has got the fan blades. I mean, there's a chance the fan blades are broken. I don't know. I don't think so, because this does rotate. I've, you know, just carefully twisted this, and it does rotate freely. So I don't think it's like jammed in there, but I did hear a clunking noise, so I don't know. I guess the next thing I need to do, hang on, now is maybe prise this rubber seal off here and undo that nut just to be sure. I'll keep this motor out actually. I'll reassemble the rest of it without the motor and then come back and just have a little bit of a fiddle around the motor to see can we separate the actual motor from the underneath bit. So a minute later, I'm feeling quite positive about this. That piece there, you know, you could see these little clips. You just prise those little clips carefully as you pull that and it comes off, yeah? And then you're left with this rubber thing here, obviously, you know, this inside it, yeah? And it just peels off, really carefully peels off, yeah? You know, it goes, let me just see, I'm going to get my hands dirty again. I've washed them about 5 times. It goes like that, yeah? It's just a sleeve that's airtight around it. So you might want to, and I will, get this into the sink, some soapy water, give it a wash. All of the parts, plastic parts you're taking off here, give them all the wash. Wash that in the sink again, get it all nice and dry. I'll do that before the new motor arrives. And I'll do the same thing on the thing here. You know, you can see I've just loosely put everything else back inside here. Got all the screws in there. Just going to put this out of the way. If you've got this in your house and someone else may plug it in, do yourself a favour and, you know, put a plastic screwdriver, put a screwdriver in there and just pull that fuse out. Just, you know, so that no one tries to use the darn thing. But, you know, you do the math. £279 for a new one or £30 to do that. And I reckon it's taking me about 20 or 30 minutes here, half the time just messing around with the camera and the remainder of the time washing my hands. So you know what, I reckon you could do this job in about 30 minutes from start to finish. You could just literally, if you know the motor's the right one for yours, just order the motor and at the end of 30 minutes you could have a fully functional vacuum. The only thing I'm not sure about is the fuse, and I haven't tested it. I'm just going to go for broke because I don't think the fuse will be an issue, and if it is, we'll just have to order one or something. I might even be able to find something that will be suitable. So pull this out, this here should point away from that there, yeah, and these go into those holes. So it now is a case of getting this, and this is the thing, if you just shove this in there, what you want to avoid is these wires going anywhere near the inside of the motor. Right, so I've put it that way up. I am worried about these wires. Where are these wires going to go? Oh, so little leeway here. Yeah, you can see the plastic things on the inside here. I think them being near the top is a good idea, as long as they don't get trapped. And yeah, that sort of feels a bit trapped, I don't know. Oh, hang on, it's upside down, that's why. Let's just try that back out again. Oh god. Yeah, that wants to go away from that, which means this wants to go this way, like this. Where's the other one? Yeah, I'm trying to keep those white connectors at the top here away from where it could go into the motor. And that's the thing, that's like, that's, I don't know, I just don't like the design of this at all. It's like, it's not going in, is it? There it is. Yeah, so you can see where these white things are here now. They're not down the bottom where they could actually go into the motor as it rotates. So if we just carefully flip this way up. So our switch is there, that's all correct. The final thing here now is to get this on, and this wants to point towards the switch almost. So as it goes in, it's going to be like that there, I think. That's it. So we can clip that back on. This makes this airtight, I think. And then it should now be simply a case of trying to work out where how to get this in, and then we've just got to simply slide this in, move these wires around so that nothing's trapped. Hang on a minute, this fuse, why is the fuse up there? I'm sure the fuse used to be down here. I don't know how it's got up there. Let's just move these wires. Yeah, it should be on the underside, the fuse. Oh god. I think it might be an idea just to pull this out and just pull this wire into the cavity there, because otherwise it's going to cause problems with the lid going back on. And I think that's it. So we need to pull these wires through that gap there. Yeah, so just making sure none of the wires are trapped anywhere around here. Switch is in the right place. This arrow's pointer almost where the switch is. This is central and in as far as it'll go. And if you've pulled this out, I'll just show you. And I had. This bit here goes to the gap down there. There's a gap that's just the right size now. I'm not sure which side of this it went on. I think it was like that. Hang on. So some manipulation may be required to get this just right. Now the other thing you might want to do is lubricate this, because if you press the button and just pull some of this out, press it. Yeah, it's not too bad, but if you wanted to lubricate that, let's just take it back out. And I am going to do this, actually. Get a bit of Monaco around here. So this stuff won't react with the plastics or the cable or anything there. I'm just going to get it on the point where it pivots here. We don't need a lot. And then press the... Hang on. This is the thing, it's not working now, is it? Why is it not working? Yeah, I think over time that may do the job. So just carefully inspecting here so that's not seated. Now it is, I think. Oh god. So this is the hard bit, trying to get this back on. After a lot of messing around, it's really hard to get this back piece back on. Just test that the cable thing works. Hang on. Yeah, you can see this is not right here because this is not clipped on. Right, done that one, done that one. Let's do this side now. I'm not convinced this is together right. Yeah, that's not going back in. Look. Something's wrong. Oh god. Yeah, putting it back together at the same time. Something was just not right on this side here, and it's all gone back together okay now. So it's all back together, I'll show you that in a minute. But it's a good job it came with new filters, because look at this one here. You see it's all dissolved, and it's got like the black charred carbonised stuff on there. Did that finish it off, or did this actually destroy the motor? I don't know. I'm thinking actually, because the air goes in through there, that this is what killed the motor. Some of this came detached, so just check your filters periodically to make sure you've not got a dissolving filter like this. Woohoo, it's working. Yeah, no issues. Just put the buttons on here. Fantastic.